What's up, everybody? It's me, Jason, and I'm your host this week. Welcome to the Wednesday Night Podcast, the only Wednesday Night Podcast that goes live every single week on Twitch. I think
Except for when we don't.
Except for when we're all in the same room and somehow don't get COVID, like last week, which was a great episode. Thanks for everyone who tuned in for that. We have 24 views.
You mean the one we did on Tuesday last week?
Last Tuesday. I'm your host, Jason. I'm joined, as always, by Steven and by Kaylin. Hey, did you see this one, boys? Are back on their regular Wednesday night slot, and I think going into the winter, it's probably going to be better scheduled that way. This summer has been a lot of us just enjoying the summer. I have been doing a lot of stuff, and I have needed to take weeks off sometimes or push days. You know, Kaylin and Steve, they had can't call it the big C. They had COVID this summer as well. I had COVID this last spring. So hopefully, fingers crossed, going into the fall, we're going to be a little bit better on schedule. Also, we've been talking about the themes, and we don't have any set themes going forward right now.
There's Halloween Part 2.
I mean, we're going to do a Halloween
or October
sequels for the 4 movies that we did last October, and that might be our going annual thing. But we don't have anything else set up just because taking a week off means you throw off the theme for that week. So once we're back on track, we'll talk about it. But for now, probably till the end of September now, we're just going to do a random movie. I think that's what we agreed on, and I think that's what the viewer should look out for. But this week, it's the 1992. I guess it's kind of a cult classic, although
I'm not sure if you can say that.
I don't know.
Not a cult classic.
It's one of those movies though where like you ask them if they've seen it, and they're like, yes. Like, yeah, I'm fucking...
This is the kind of movie where you go to like a weird dive bar that has like one like Super Nintendo in the room, and they're playing it with no audio on, and everybody in the bar is like, "Why the fuck is this movie on?"
Yeah. Well, that's
what this movie is.
Based on your reaction, Steve, I think where we're going with your review. But I think we're gonna have a classic dust up with the three of us all having wildly different opinions of the movie.
Nice.
I'm going to start us off. I'm gonna go. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna go first. Steve, why don't you tell us about your the first time seeing the movie and your history with this film?
Sure. I saw this movie in theaters when it came out because my parents loved Robin Williams, and up until this point, he was kind of like a safe bet for kids' movies.
Were you like 4?
Yeah, and I saw it in theaters. I remember being like, I'm scared of this, and this movie is scary, and why did you bring me to this scary movie? It's so frightening. And then when I wasn't frightened, I was bored, very bored. And then I remember playing the video game because I remember seeing the box and being like, I saw this
recording
movie.
in progress.
Nothing.
And,
oh my lord.
No one else can see it or hear it, so it's fine.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we can, but no one.
No, else. I know, but
we also not have that awesome gold at the beginning now.
Well, I mean, you know,
we have it on
Twitch.
On
Twitch.
And also, the more we talk about it, the more time we waste about the movie that we're talking about. We don't need to react to every little thing that happens. I think I watched it again a little later in life, maybe as a teenager, but once again, I was kind of like, what the fuck is this? Like, who is this movie for? It's not for kids. It's primarily designed to look like it's for kids, and the story is very juvenile, and I'm like, this is a story for kids told by an angry adult or something. Like, what is this movie? Anyway, yeah, the first time I saw it, I barely remembered watching it, and then when you brought it up, Jason, I looked it up. I was like, oh, this thing, if you can call it a movie. Yeah, so that's
I think it's a film.
Experience.
It is a film.
It's not a film.
There's no high speed chase, and there's kind of explosions, I guess.
There's lots of explosions at the end.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, yeah, true. Yeah.
There's even a chase, sort of.
Sort of.
Anyway, yeah, my seminal experiences with this movie were sort of like seated in. Oh, that's why I have nightmares about giant endless fields that don't have a horizon and connect directly to the sky. Oh, that's why Robin Williams has always made me uncomfortable to this very day. Anyway, I'll pass it over to the next person.
Okay, I just wanted to that note, I just want to say that I think that Bill Gates may have gotten the idea for the Windows background from this movie.
I think Bill Gates is from Idaho, which is where they filmed this stuff.
Yeah, so it's filmed in Moscow, Idaho, and there's something about those rolling hills. Anyway, we'll get into it. Kaylin, why don't you tell us about it?
Absolutely, Jason. Absolutely. Quick question. I forget. I'm pretty sure I asked it already, but during the intro music, can they see us?
No.
Should I be doing something?
They can't see us.
No, it's just the countdown on the screen.
All right.
If I get a little bit better with OBS, what I could do is like put a little square of us in the corner while we're doing our. Anyway, that's show notes for later.
So, yes, my first time. This is one of maybe a handful, and I'd have to think about it. It could be just like one hand. A handful is one hand, right? Anyway, so there's a few movies that just stick out in my mind. Does your brain hurt?
Let's go.
There's a few movies that stick out in my mind only because of their cover. It's it's just a very whatever, or maybe just at the time of my brain's
development.
Yeah, that's the word. Thank you. That it just stuck out at that time. This was one of them. Red, I guess, is definitely a color that stands out. But then the hat, his smile, and then also the continued images of it through the hat, it just always stood out to me. I'm pretty sure I've never seen it, and watching it this week it felt like the first time. Like nothing really stood out or anything, so I don't think I've ever seen it before. Watching it, Steve, to your point, I agree with you that it's some weird, abstract, surreal movie, almost disguised as a kid's movie, but not really. And it definitely had like a weird vibe to it. When you mentioned the hills, it's like, oh shit, yeah, it is kind of that depth perception or whatever. And then also, Jason, like you said, it was like, hey, that reminds me of Windows. What? There's another, I think, comment you made, Steven. I forget what it was, or maybe it was just something I thought of. But it also kind of, when the toys were kind of going crazy, it reminded me of Nightmare Before Christmas. But so to answer,
I think what I said was the Nightmare Before Christmas creeped me out less than this movie.
Yes, as a kid. That's what it was. Yeah. And then when you said that, it was right around the time I was watching it, and the toys were the good toys were fighting the army toys or whatever, and it gave me a good laugh. But this was essentially my first time. I didn't know what it was going in, which I really like. Jason, you don't like previews, right? I agree with you for sure.
Did you watch the trailer and then it gave away too much?
With certain movies, it doesn't matter, and I'm okay with watching the preview because it does get me hyped, Steve, to your point. But there's some movies where it's like if you go in blank, that's going to be the best way to experience it.
John Carpenter month.
What is this movie pitched as? Because I did have a lot of laughs. It did, it had it was adult but also childish. It was definitely a weird vibe, and I got an idea of what the director was going for, but I don't think it was completely executed to perfection. But I enjoyed it, and thank you for bringing it to us this week. Back to you,
so
Jason.
I'm gonna tell you about my intro to it, and then I'm gonna lay some bombs on you because I did some research about some aspects of this movie. But before we get to that, I've seen this movie. What was like Stay Tuned a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Similar to Stay Tuned, I had TMN, the movie network, when I was like, 7 when this movie came out, 7 or 8. And this was on the movie network for like 2 straight years. It was on all the time. Right? So I've probably seen this movie 20 times. However, up until today, I had only seen the sequence from the airplane, the third act where basically from when they show the computer screen with all their little avatars and they're basically going through the maze and they go into that room and they activate all the toys and there's the toy battle that goes on for way fucking too long. We'll get to that. To him getting in the plane, to him crashing into the control room, to the ending. I don't remember any of that. In fact, I think I've only seen it maybe once. But the first hour of this movie I remember vividly, like almost to the point that I could say the lines, which is so fucking weird, but that's so the way it was when you had the movie channel as a kid. And this was like, remember, did you have this in Halifax, Kaylin? I lived out in the boonies when I was 7, but channel 31 was the movie channel. Like, we only had 30 channels. 31 was this movie channel that, like, I don't know if we were supposed to even...
When you were 7?
Yeah, like when we were little kids.
So I only had the 3 channels. I didn't have anything fancy. I only had like 3, 5, and 9.
Yeah, like MITV, CTV, and fucking
BBC. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but
fucking Littlest Hobo though, and fucking Degrassi. Fuck.
Yeah, those were your shit. No, but this movie I had seen a bunch of times, but the nature of having cable and every TV show being appointment television, you just watch whatever was on. So you have these memories, these fragmented memories of shows and movies from that era, like Stay Tuned, which I would go on to buy, but this one I never purchased because it's just such a weird movie. But it permeated my whole life in this weird way where every time I watch a Tim Burton movie, I always think of this movie because if Tim Burton makes dark, gothic, weird movies, like Edward Scissorhands reminds me of a dark version of this movie. This artist that came up with this like style, I had his name pulled up. He's an Italian like designer. He came up with this weird surrealist style. He does the Tim Burton like weirdly big rooms, just like rooms that are way too big with weird like fixtures and stuff. It feels like the bright anti Tim Burton almost.
Or like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, but even that has
very bright and colorful.
But even that has some weird dark shit, like Big Bertha. That whole sequence.
Can I add on right quick to the kind of add-on?
Instead of asking, just do it. Just give her.
So there was the house is a box, but it has a fold-out front.
Yeah.
So you can make it look like whatever you want. I thought that was like fucking awesome.
That's great. It's like a folding book or whatever, a pop-up book. I really like.
The design in this movie was wild.
Like some of the amount of money that probably went into some of the big toy scene at the end, and some of those like set pieces. Excuse me. Some of those set pieces. Some of the practical stuff in this. The very, very early days of CGI. Like you go from Outland to like this a decade later. That's all the progress they've made. I thought that was extremely funny. That was
what, the beach ball?
The beach ball and like the guns on the screen when he's watching the kids.
True. Yeah.
Which had like kind of a 3D effect to them, which was interesting, which I'll get to. But the other thing that I want to say, so now I'm going to go into just like I've seen this movie a bunch of times. It was on TV all the time as a kid because I had the movie channel. That's basically the long and short of it. I'm very familiar with this up to a point. The last act I fucking can't even remember until I watch it.
It's boring, and that's why your brain didn't absorb it.
I think you're right, Steve. I think that's exactly what happened. I think that it's like they keep
the end of this movie sucks dick.
Yeah,
the middle
of
this movie is awesome.
Leave? Or maybe you had dinner or something.
No, like I
The
said,
middle of this movie is very memorable and good. The end of this movie sucks dick.
and even the setup,
Terrible.
And not in a good way.
If this movie came on TV when I was a kid, I would be like, "Oh man, the bright colors! Oh man, my brain can follow this middle." This ending is a little bit kind of loses me, and then they start trying to do all these editing choices and these direction choices. But anyway, to get to the main part of the review, what I will say is this movie was directed partly written by Barry fucking Levinson, who directed such movies as The fucking Rain Man and Home Fries and Wag the Dog and Donnie Brasco.
Good Morning Vietnam, which is where he worked with Robin Williams.
With Robin Williams, yeah. And he's still making shit today, like that show Dope Sick, about the
This didn't cancel him?
This movie?
Oh,
he's still working.
Not cancel, but I mean, like, you'll never work in this town again.
No, it propelled his career to new heights, if anything else.
I thought this thing bombed.
I know
it did.
Yeah, but it was the 90s. Fucking directors bombed constantly. They bombed like everything.
One bomb back then didn't mean you were done.
No.
And he'd already proven himself countless times before that, so you're allowed to have one stinker every once in a while.
It's not like now where you have a stinker and you're not allowed to make a movie for 10 years as a comeback. Back then, they didn't have as much reliance on like franchises. That's why toys is so weird to me, because I come from a kind of a later era of my brain turning on and it just being full like remakes and franchises and based on and blah blah blah. Back then, they actually tried new things. Like this movie was them trying something. And it kind of worked. I think
it gets an applause for that. Actually.
I mean, that still happens today. It's just nobody fucking watches them because they don't advertise them, and you're not excited because fucking Iron Man doesn't show up in the
exactly. And they can go out
the room or whatever.
They can go straight to Netflix, but also big name directors and writers can go right to Netflix too. And it's funny, on the Emmys last night, I saw that clip of Mindy Kaling and BJ Novak from The Office.
I missed them.
Be like, when we were doing network TV, we had to write 22 episodes a season. We had to develop complex relationships with our co-actors. Nowadays, you can just get a script with 8 episodes, and that's a season. You get your rich big name friends to come be in it, and then you bang out a script, and that is sort of the nature of television now, and movies. Where a lot of movies that you think should be in theaters, like, for instance, I think that Tomorrow War should have been a big summer blockbuster that flopped right on its face. That's what I think. Traditionally, I think that's what would have happened, and I think that's what should have happened to it. Unfortunately,
which one's that? Is that the?
That's the Chris Pratt one. Unfortunately, it went on Netflix.
I watched like 20 minutes of that, and I was like, "Not for Steve."
It went on Netflix, and it got panned by the critics. But
it was an Amazon movie. That's why it didn't go to theaters.
Yeah, but dummies liked it. It was given to a wider audience. It was a movie made for dummies, and you didn't have to pay to go see it. So that right there, the critical rating.
Don't you need to have Amazon? Don't you pay for Amazon?
Amazon's basically free.
Everybody has
basically
Amazon.
Free. What is it? $10?
No, I mean it's basically free if you have Amazon Prime, which most people do. You get Amazon.
Isn't that like $20-$30?
Kaylin, we get your point. Yes, you have to pay a monthly fee to watch it. Yeah,
but they put movies that could be in theaters on it. They do it with Netflix as well. It's a whole new way of.
Yeah, no offense. I'm almost done with theaters. Like.
I'm not offended by that. Theaters are fucking stupid. I'd rather watch every new release.
They're not entirely stupid. There is a feeling for sure.
That's true, but like, I like the idea. I like the ability to pause a movie, go to the kitchen or the bathroom. I don't like having to be like,
no offense, but you shouldn't watch a movie like that.
I gotta get my food, and I gotta sit down to make sure I don't have to pee, and I gotta make sure that I can't leave. I like
watching a movie on a giant screen with the crazy speakers, and like the fact that I cannot look at my phone and I cannot go to the bathroom is actually kind of nice, because then it's like just projected at you and you have to focus.
But I only go to movies that I only basically go to Marvel movies, and even before the pandemic, I only saw Marvel and Star Wars in theaters, basically. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, if the pandemic hadn't happened, though, I would have went to go see a ton of other
that's true
cool movies that I would have wanted to see that weren't just Marvel movies. But now I'm going for that spectacle. I'm going to have my eardrums massaged by
I do kind of wish
lightning.
I do kind of wish that I had seen Bullet Train, because that seems like a dumb go to the theaters.
I watched Nope a couple weeks ago, and I really wish that I went to go see Nope.
Yeah.
Ooh,
we had the opportunity. Anyway,
it was very good. Yeah. Well, that was the week that we were going to go. Was the week I got COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Pray. I think would have been good.
Pray was dope. But Pray is only on Disney.
I don't care.
Yeah. It was also, but like to Kalen's point, it was filmed as though it was meant to be watched on a big screen. It wasn't filmed like with television in mind. That's the difference between a lot of TV shows, which is why I think I'm enjoying this Lord of the Rings show a lot, is because they're filming it as though it was meant to be watched on the large screen rather than
like it looks like a Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
because framing and just like the scope of things and taking your time with landscapes and stuff. That's something that you see mostly in movies that are designed to be watched on a giant, like 3-story tall projection screen.
Game of
rather
Thrones
than your 50-inch television or whatever.
The Host of the Dragon looks like Host of the Dragon is to Game of Thrones as Fear the Walking Dead is to The Walking Dead, is what I've noticed. It looks like a pared down, cheaper version.
You're talking about Lord of the Rings?
No, I'm talking about Game of Thrones.
The Dragon.
Host of the Dragon.
You're saying that the new Game of Thrones to the old Game of Thrones is like the Walking Dead to the other Walking Dead?
The Fear the Walking Dead spinoff to The Walking Dead.
I never watched Fear the Walking Dead, and I haven't watched the new Game of Thrones.
Fear the Walking
Dead. What the frick you're talking about?
Fear the Walking Dead took place in like LA at the very beginning of the zombie outbreak, and it felt like you were watching a fucking WB show. It was very hard, and then they go on a boat.
I mean, to be fair,
WB.
You get far enough along in the Walking Dead show, and it also feels like a WB.
That's true. It gets really, the special effects get worse. Anyway, we're here to talk about the movie Toys, and I'm trying to be concise.
On that note, 7 minutes 31 seconds.
Oh, they say Toys at 7 because
You're telling me they say the word toys in a movie about a toy?
No, but did they say toys plural at 7 minutes and 31 seconds?
They do say toys. It's in a sentence of whatever they're saying, but they say toys.
They don't look at the screen and go, and then we made toys.
Yeah. These toys are spicy.
All right, I'm gonna get through some notes here. Let's. Oh, also music by Hans Zimmer, which is probably one of his first, because he was like
It's crazy that it's Hans Zimmer music, but it sounds like he wrote it and then gave it to some fucking 90s like Enya electro pop band or some shit. And you're like, what the fuck is this music?
Speaking of that, there's so I suddenly realized that this movie is a fucking Christmas movie. It's bookended by Christmas.
God. You suddenly realized, was it the 10 minutes at the beginning that was boring shit of a bunch of kids dancing around? You know, like,
I didn't remember that. I did make a note. I did make a note though that it's way better to open a movie with something visually interesting to look at than just black with like words flying at you, which was still happening.
Yeah. Agreed, but I mean, after the like mysterious reveal of the sugar plum fairies coming out of the Manhattan miniature, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, cut to something else. Like, this is so fucking boring. This is the thing that I remember now, being a kid, being like, I thought this movie was about toys.
I liked that. I liked that this toy factory puts on this like show every year.
Happy working,
which they call back to what?
Sorry, my apologies. Go ahead.
We're talking about the opening, Kalen.
Get
a grip. You're like jumping in the middle of the movie.
Santa comes in, drops gifts on them.
And we all thought it was going to be Robin Williams, right? And it wasn't.
Yeah.
What the fuck is up with that?
So this is where we get the conceit of the plot. Basically, Kenneth Zevo, the owner of Zevo Toys, this giant toy factory, they make old school toys like dolls and teddy bears and old school 50s toys. Because we live in this.
Inferred that they make like modern stuff too. Like they make video games and stuff. They just don't make like Call of Duty or whatever.
No, and that's true. But the thing is like we find out that Leslie Zevo, who's played by Robin Williams, his whole shtick is he's like heads up the novelties division. So he makes like joy buzzers and fake puke and fucking fake dog shit and like a dog on a leash. that just it's fun for like 10 seconds. The fart machine though, I would get a lot of use out of. So
I have a built-in fart machine. Yeah, I don't need that.
So essentially, Kenneth
I've
is dying, and he needs an heir to come take over the Zevo name, essentially. And he has a brother, Lendelin? Shit, it'll come.
His name's Uncle Dumbledore.
Uncle Dumbledore. Leland Zevo, who is a general for the army. Or some military. They never really go outside these rolling hills, so you don't really see anything. Well, you see Gwen's apartment for like a sec, but like the rest.
But even when you're outside it, you don't really see anything.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like everything's a box. It's like they're all in a big box, and then there's those other, like a box for the house, a box for the factory.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
They are the toys.
They are the toys within the diorama.
Yeah.
And then Robin Williams, Leslie, like I mentioned, he lives in a cube that opens up like a pop-up book. And he drives a bumper car, which we find out very early in this movie.
Hilarious.
That's his dad's car.
Yeah.
Remember, he's like, I want to take dad's car. And then it's a bumper car.
So we get that scene where basically General Zevo's talking to the father, and his pacemaker is hooked up to one of those hats with the spinner on top. But
I want one
a propeller. Thank you. And, of course you do, Kalen.
I just assumed you already had one.
Yeah,
I should.
I thought that was your shtick already.
Surprised you weren't wearing one.
And a dunce cap as well.
Oh.
My God,
if he produces one right now, I will give $50 to everybody on this podcast. Oh, just a regular hat that says dunce on it.
It's a dunce cap.
It's a dunce cap. I get it. So anyway, fucking Kenneth dies. Well, he almost dies, and then he dies in the ambulance being taken away, leaving Kenneth Zevo to take over the Empire. Leslie being too donkey-brained to really... I think he was raised in a toy factory and never really grew up to the point that I don't even think he really realized what was happening. But
it's crazy because he has so much responsibility and he seems very good at his job, which is like one of the things that annoys me about this movie is like he is clearly the perfect person to run the factory, but his father's like, he just never learned how to grow up. And it's like, you're wearing a fucking propeller hat attached to your heart monitor. What the fuck are you talking about?
Your shoes are light up slippers. Like,
yeah. And you're like, my son just never learned how to grow up.
So, no, but I think I agree with your point there a little bit, but also at the same time, there's having that one happy-go-lucky, the good, that aspect that he has, but there also needs to be a bit of that kind of take charge leadership role or whatever as well.
Yeah.
Which, like, he does kind of display a little bit, but then it's broadened that much more out of him when he has the antagonist of his uncle.
And that's...
I suppose, but I feel like every single moment that it shows him leading the group of designers and stuff, like, he's doing a very good job.
True.
Like an amicable job. And like, amicable?
Yeah, that's exactly what
amicably?
Yeah. But it's... So, like, that's one of the issues that I have is you don't... Throughout the movie, I find it very difficult to connect to his character because he's so turned on all the time, like as Robin Williams, and like it's a little bit distracting throughout the movie when he's making pop culture references because of the fact that this movie feels like it's isolated from all of reality.
Yeah, and I didn't get any of the pop culture references because it's I got a couple of them, but like there's some stuff in there that
MJ impression.
That's and I guess Mike
but
Tyson.
We already knew that he could do that from every other movie that he's in. Like he doesn't need to do that kind of shit in this movie.
I think Robin Williams is best in this movie when he's not clearly doing his improv thing where he's just like doing 10 voices in a row. There's some scenes in this movie where he just does his own voice, which is very rare. Specifically the speech at the end that he gives the toys where you never hear Robin Williams just talk in his voice, and even by the end of that he goes into full like military general, but you never those are the best, the times where he's being like genuine almost, not just like having a cute moment with his new girlfriend. So the military dude, Kenneth Zebo.
Steve, were you done though, right quick?
I mean, yeah, we both kind of hit on the same point, which is like, I don't know, he kind of felt a little hollow by the end of the movie because you don't really get to know him. I felt like I knew LL Cool J's character more than I knew.
Yeah, Patrick was a decent character. He actually had character growth too, where nobody else really did.
Hilarious.
He was probably the funniest.
Scene every time.
So a bit of I think, just to go back a little bit, a bit of my problem with Kenneth Zebo too is he was so the villain the whole time. He was just too the villain. He didn't have any real dimension to him, but I think he might have had a little bit more dimension than Leslie, because like as Robin Williams' character was kind of two-note. He was either the part that I like, where he's being like genuine and like pushing the plot forward, or he was just going, I'm Robin Williams doing my little voices. And I think there's a disconnect. I don't think any of the characters were necessarily well written. I think that the story, I think the characters of like the factory and the weirdness of the art direction are more what I watched this movie for. And there's some genuinely funny comedy, like some funny moments in this that anyway, we'll get to. So the military dude, Ken Zebo, gets a tour of the factory. When he walks in, there's this song playing on the factory floor that as a kid I thought was just soundtrack. But
is it real life?
It is, because as they leave and come back into the room, it stops and then starts playing again later when the song is remixed to be more oppressive. Here, the song's basically like, we're happy, we're working, and it's real.
They're singing along to it.
They're singing along to it. Everybody's psyched. They're dancing around.
The original owner, that seems like cruelty, don't you think?
I'm sure there was a playlist. There must have been a playlist.
Yeah, they weren't singing the same song all day long.
Right? The owner seemed like a nice, happy-go-lucky guy.
Well,
and
maybe he didn't make them sing that. Maybe they came up with that song themselves. You never know.
No fucking way.
Oh, I'm sorry. You find a single aspect of this movie unbelievable? Okay, sorry. I apologize.
Shout out to the character Yardley Smith, who's Lisa Simpson's voice. She's in this.
Right, yeah.
They're doing focus.
Oh fuck yeah, she's awesome.
They're doing Yardley. I can't remember her fucking last name. Anyway, Lisa Simpson's in this movie. She pops up occasionally in movies, and it's always great to see her because she's like she always plays like a funny dummy. I feel like, which is like the opposite of Lisa Simpson.
Like a bit of an airhead sort of, or whatever.
Yeah, Lisa Simpson is an unfunny.
There's like a weird joke. What was it? It was like a weird joke that she made. Right at the beginning.
I know what it is. It's so they're in the focus group for advertising, but it's not like a focus group with customers. It's just them watching Robin Williams in a grocery store.
He's doing like a demo of his items.
Yeah, and he's testing the dog leash that I mentioned earlier that has no dog on it, and the fake poop. He throws the fake poop down.
That's hilarious. I've never seen that. I want to do that.
I think it dispenses the poop, in fact. I think you press a button and it like falls out. Anyway, she says people really want to poop in a bath. People really want to poop in the bath.
Oh yeah, and then she says we've all done it.
Only if it floats.
Yeah.
Only if it floats. We've all done it. And everybody looks at her like, no, I don't even think anybody even bats an eye, actually.
Well, no, yeah, they do. Robin Williams kind of side-eyes her and then looks back at the screen and whispers to the later, like, this is not a shared experience or something.
So then
Have you guys ever shit the tub?
No. So
I can say this much. I don't remember shitting the tub, but I know my little brother shit the tub one time.
That's even more information than
I thought you were gonna be like, but my mom tells me about it all the time.
Yeah. My mom always tells me about how she caught me waffle stomping a dump down the fucking.
It's because I was also in the tub.
Oh, you babe.
Okay, Kaylin.
This guy's got. We
don't hear about you and your brother shitting all over each other in the bathtub.
This guy's got fecal. He's got fecal. Anyway, so Joan Cusack. She's been introduced a couple times by this point. She's an extremely weird individual. It's almost like she's otherworldly, or maybe not even a real person. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Um,
While I was watching this movie, I was like, I remember when I was a kid, I just assumed this woman was a robot. Why the fuck do I think she's a robot?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
Me
in
too.
Fact. So I was shocked.
I was like, oh, okay. That's why I thought she was a robot. Because she is.
I like her. Her and LL were my favorites.
Well, this is early in Joan Cusack's career too, I believe. This is one of her first things that she was in.
She photographs well.
So throughout the movie, she's always dressed like a weird like doll from the 1920s, and
with the clip-on pieces
the
of
paper dolls. So what she does is she's like R&D for like the doll division. She comes up with the new costumes. She wears the costume. She wears giant paper doll things with the clips. You can see them in Kaylin's picture there, sort of. She wears the doll hair, and she is just a weirdo, and she sleeps in a giant duck, which
it's a swan,
or it's a swan. Sorry,
and it's so cool. That's such a cool part. I love that part.
They built that for that one.
That's what I'm saying about that house, though. Like, that's what seems so cool to me. It's like it's a box, right? But one, you can make the front whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, people buy these fancy ass houses, but really all it is a box with a fancy ass front, right? And then on the inside, you can make the rooms whatever you want them to be. Like the design, I don't know why, super attracted to.
I really liked it too. And this swan, they built it for one scene. They just built this crazy mechanical swan.
There's a reason that whatever his name is, Fiagi Jungi Bungi or whatever.
Fianjo Janjonji.
His name's Fernando Scarfiotti.
Scarfiotti.
He spent a whole year in pre-production just designing and building the sets for this movie before they even started filming, which is pretty wild.
It's crazy how professional they look too. Like this.
Well, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's why. That's why it took a year, because he was like, I need to make it a big face, more of like a scary, but not that scary.
I wanted the kids to be scared and the adults to be scared.
Close to the door. What a great security defense. How are they going to get to it if it's not over there?
They punch out the secretary and then pull the lever that moves it.
They pretend that they pretend that the stairs. I think
there's a huge lever like 4 feet away from it.
We passed over that, but yeah, there's a scene. This is the first time we see one of these like big rooms that makes no sense. It's because there's a giant staircase with wheels, but the wheels don't turn, and the staircase has to move over to where the doorway is. There's no railing either. It's just so
like
fucking
a weird, funny little thing to have, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you guys think you would want a railing, or do you think you'd be able to do it without the railing?
I always would like a railing.
I would always like a railing.
I want a railing at all times.
I wouldn't fall off that, but I have things with heights.
I don't know. If you were the CEO of a company, you'd probably be fucking hitting the sauce pretty hard. You'd want a railing for sure.
Yeah. Also, this place seems
Maybe
pretty like...
he has a different way of getting in there.
This seems like a disaster waiting to happen in most of the factories, so like...
Yeah, you leave your office and somebody forgot to put the staircase up and you just fall like 10 feet.
There's no safety inspector in this. There's no safety inspector character in this movie as far as we can tell, so this place probably has like tragedies weekly. And they're all whacked out on just being happy, so they're probably just like, oh, I broke all my legs. I'm fine. We get introduced quickly to the first novelty that our man Robin Williams is working on. It's a smoke suit. It's just a suit that shoots smoke.
No, it's a smoking jacket.
It's a smoking jacket.
It's a pun, you fool. It's a smoke suit. It's a smoke coat.
Okay.
It's a smoking jacket.
Okay.
Smoke coat sounds good.
Smoking jacket is a real thing.
A smoking jacket is a real thing.
I know it.
You don't have to make me feel stupid, Steve.
I've been to fancy gentleman bars. I'm a gentleman.
God, strip club.
A strip club is not a fancy gentleman.
Strip club, right? It's
Ralph's,
a fancy gentleman bar.
Ralph's is not a fancy gentleman's bar.
We don't have Ralph's anymore. They got rid of them.
Good.
Which is fucking stupid because they were grandfathered in.
Can't say grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's an offensive term now, brother.
Is it? I'm sorry. So Nova Scotia had this rule where you can't have a strip club, but they already had a strip club, so they before the rule, and then they fucking got rid of it. Like, what a gold mine.
It was horrible there. It was so gross.
No, but I'm not.
Welcome to Nova Scotia's one strip club where
They
don't
tried
have to
to
compete with any other strip club.
Well, over the
I'm
years,
not
they tried to
disputing
open
that.
up other ones. There were places that were zoned for it, and there was you could
There was nipples. There was swizzle.
No.
Swizzle.
What I'm saying
There
is,
was
the
butthole.
clap. Yeah.
they should have. Man, I got so many ideas that could have been
But
done.
here's the
Making a
thing.
thriving-
Here's the thing about strip clubs in Nova Scotia. There's no touching, so you get a lap dance and it's
No, but that's what I'm
5
saying.
feet away
That's
from
why
you.
we're definitely going on a tangent, but I was so sad because that's a priceless thing to give up. Something where it's done before the law, so they can't change it or whatever, unless if you get rid of it, now it's a new place, and then so whatever, they can't do it again. Sorry. So
This has been the law. This has been the law
I'm
corner
getting
with
sleepier than General Zemo in that discussion about toys.
Zevo. Anyway, we meet the grandfather. Speaking of, who is played by the actor that plays the father in Dirty Work, but with
Also, Problem Child.
the grandfather from Problem Child, and he's got all this like crazy old makeup because he's supposed to be General Zevo, Kenneth Zevo's dad, but they're probably the same age at this time. And basically, he's half mumbling everything to Kenneth Zevo, and it's very funny. And my favorite joke from this part is is Kenneth Zevo goes, nowadays the wars are fought differently. The soldiers aren't like loyal to their country anymore. And one night in Vietnam, one of my soldiers tried to frag me, and then the old man Zevo goes, big cock. And I thought that was really funny because it was, a little bit of, you guys didn't laugh.
Gay joke.
It's not a gay joke at all because he
It was a
misheard
gay
him
joke
say.
and a big cock joke, and I had a little chuckle as well.
I don't think it was a. I don't think
I
it was
wouldn't
a,
have understood it if I didn't have subtitles on. It's like, what
Oh.
did he say?
I don't think I understood
like,
it
oh,
as a
he's talking about
kid,
big
and the
cock.
subtitles did help me with that because it would say mumbling and then words that were meant to be
Big
heard.
cock. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was funny. The nurse is played by that woman who's from like A Million Things.
Debbie Mazar.
Yeah, Debbie Mazar or whatever. She's in Zoolander, I think, most notably.
Who is she in Zoolander?
She's one of the goons for Mugatu's goons.
Are you thinking of Mila Jovovich?
Oh, was that Mila
Resident Evil?
Jovovich?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what the fuck?
They are kind of similar, actually, but no, not her. Yeah.
What's her name?
Debbie Mazar, Mazar.
So, Debbie Mazar, though, was in like A
I don't know if
Million
I'm saying
Things
that
in the 90s. She's in.
She was like the badass chick.
Yeah.
She's in Goodfellas. That's probably the one you're thinking of.
She's in Beethoven's Second.
She wasn't in Spawn,
Oh.
though. That mom from OC was in
Not
Spawn.
Goodfellas. Never mind.
Oh, also, we're gonna meet a new character soon. Maybe I'll wait.
We're gonna add a new character to the show.
To the movie. So Kenneth Zevo leaves the room, and we see that it's a military tent set up inside the office of his father. Then
Which is very funny.
which I thought
That
was
is-
good.
That is a hilarious gag. I was like, that's good. Because he's so crazy and old and loves the war that he can't sleep inside of a normal room. He has to sleep inside of a medic's tent
Yeah.
from World War II.
Also, is this room
Sounds like
in
he
the
got hurt a lot.
factory? Like,
He also had a uniform in that room that was like a uniform from the Civil War, which either implies that that's how old he is or he's just a descendant from a horrible person.
he definitely fought for the South.
No, I think it was a North uniform.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. They abolished slavery.
It's better, yeah.
It's better.
It's better.
Civil War was stupid, but
But
so
look what it led to.
Let's not talk about this.
let's not because okay. So the next scene is the board meeting that they're just talking about toys. They're just talking about the daily stuff, and Kenneth Zevo is like real tired. He's falling asleep, and then it's let fly that there might be some espionage going on. There might be some
Which
other
is
toy
also so
companies
funny because he's
stealing
falling
secrets.
asleep and then he hears the word espionage and he's like, espionage? What do you mean espionage?
And then
that's right up my alley.
So there's a character in this named Owens who's sort of
Owen.
Yeah, his name's Owen Owens.
Owen Owens. He's sort of Leslie's like he was
right hand man.
He was the original guy. Sorry, I keep calling Leland Kenneth. He was Kenneth Zevo's right hand man, and now he's sort of looking over Leslie. When I said Kenneth a bunch of times,
like
I meant to say
Alfred,
Leland.
Basically.
And my question is that the same actor from Hook who plays the fucking
Toodles,
lost his marbles or whatever?
Yeah. Toodles, is it not Toodles?
But I thought he was supposed to be Sleepy Peter or whatever from Peter Pan.
No.
He's the littlest of the Lost Boys in the cartoon or whatever. And then in this, he's an old man, but it's Toodles. I'm pretty sure. I can easily check it right now. Let's go ahead and check.
Even the kid mentioned it.
Sleepy Peter.
His name's...
No way. No,
I'm gonna have to go ahead and
I'm
gonna have to go ahead and correct myself. Oh wait, no, correct all of you. His name is Toodles, like I said.
It's not
Sleepy Peter. You know who Sleepy Peter is? Peter Pan.
Oh yeah.
He fell asleep so long he grew up.
What?
The movie. Thing? The working title for Hook was Sleepy Peter. Okay.
That's a fucking that's a little too
trust me at my word.
If you can't handle me at my wrongest, you can't love me at my rightest.
You'll never be able to handle me at my rightest.
Yeah. So anyway, he pulls Owens into the closet. We get a little bit of supply closet humor, which was a huge thing in sitcoms in the 90s.
The hearing.
Two people talking this close to each other.
Yeah, but he pulls out like a Zippo. Well, there's probably a light switch in there, right? But he pulls out a Zippo, and then he tells him to be quieter. Then he tells him to be a little bit quieter, and then he can't hear him, and he tells him to be louder, and then he tells him to be louder again to the point that he's speaking louder than he was originally speaking to begin with.
Yeah,
which is very funny.
So then the next scene is a little just a little moment in like a little, I think, like dinner. And this is where we meet Patrick, played by LL Cool J, who Leland says, my son's coming, and I guess he would be Leslie's cousin, younger cousin.
Yeah.
Because they grew up together, and he used to love the toys and stuff, but his dad got his claws in him and made him a fucking military psycho. Man. But he's the best. He's the best at camouflage that I've ever seen.
The best.
He's
like an ace infiltrator. That's like his...
That's his shtick.
His bread and butter.
In fact, he shows up in this scene by emerging out of the couch, dressed in camouflage that looks like the couch, and I thought that was.
He had the pillow as his. He was like here, and this was this.
It was. There's also a dumb little novelty gag here that I liked, where Leslie comes over, and it's clearly he holds up a platter. And one of his hands is his hands, and one's clearly a fake hand. And then offers him a devil's egg, and he's moving the devil's egg around with a magnet, and the devil's egg's moving around. And Leland has no time for this, but I'm watching this movie belly laughing at this dumb little gag. Like, these are the things that make me laugh.
It's funny though, because he's not even really annoyed at it. Afterwards, he's like, "How did you do that?" Yeah. It's like we're sitting there as audience members being like, we know exactly how that was accomplished. How did you do that?
How did you do that? I have no whimsy in my life. I cannot figure that out for the life.
This military genius doesn't know about magnets.
No whimsy. So then we're.
Can we make that the statement of the night?
No whimsy.
That's the statement of every day of my life.
All whimsy, all the time.
No whimsy.
No. Whimsy. He has no whimsy in his voice.
No whimsy. Mimsy.
No whimsy.
Then we're at the dinner. So something that hit my this has a weird joke where Alstasia is eating a sandwich that's just bread, and Leslie's
plain white bread with no crusts.
Yeah, and Leslie's like, that there's no nutritional value. And she's like, well, inside I've got vitamins, and opens it up, and there's like a fish oil and like a Flintstones vitamin. It's just a dumb thing.
Bunch of pills.
But I kind of zoned out during this.
I feel like that's a better way to take them.
And I realized that this sort of has a similar dynamic to Be Kind Rewind, in that it's like a popular rapper from the time with a very popular comedian from the time in this like weird, like abstract, surreal scenario. And I thought, you know what I mean? Like I'm not.
Yeah, I can see.
They have nothing to do with each other. I'm not trying to say. You know, I know Steve's like, that's not a ripoff. I specifically wrote.
But I wouldn't even call this homage. Like that's just like.
I think
that's just a thing they often do. Like,
yeah,
they'll do that. They do that all the time.
I thought
have you ever seen the movie where Steve Martin and like, Queen Latifah are paired up or
exactly?
Whatever? It's just
Yo, fucking Eugene Levy. What was that? What was that like thing that he said?
I use it as an example. I don't want to talk about that movie. It sucks. Why would we ever talk about bringing down the house?
You remember the name of bringing? Was that Queen Latifah and Steve Martin?
And Eugene Levy's in it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
They turn him into like a rap man or whatever. They give him cornrows and.
But then they made the movie with Will Smith where he has to get ready to go to jail with Kevin Hart. And that's...
You mean Will Ferrell?
That's what I said. Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart going to jail or whatever.
He says Will Smith.
Oh, shit.
We can watch the playback.
And I was like, no, you're thinking of the Oscars after party.
Uh-oh.
When he slapped Chris Rock in the face.
Did you guys see that side-by-side comparison from that like 1950s movie where it's the exact same scene? Anyway, conspiracy theory.
What? Say again?
There's this movie from like the 50s or the 60s where that exact sequence happens that like right down to
they're at an award show and someone comes up and slaps someone.
Yeah, but it's the same, exactly the same cadence, exactly the same reaction, exactly the way that Will Smith walks onto the stage and does it. It's all the same. Look it up.
I gotta see this.
It's weird.
Oh,
I'll look it up after. It was a TikTok, but it's from some movie. So there are conspiracy theories that was all just to distract people from what was the thing that happened. Well, it distracted me, so I don't know.
I mean, if they're just trying to distract us, why would they steal from a movie? Why wouldn't they just do something crazy?
Because they're actors.
It's never happened before.
Because they're actors, and Hollywood has like 6 ideas.
Cheaper, they're not creative.
It's cheaper.
Ironically, Hollywood is the most devoid of creativity. So
anyway, I don't know what your point was, but yeah, it happens often. It happens all the time, in fact, where they pair a popular comedian with a popular musical artist and make a comedy. But I will say the tone of Be Kind, Rewind is more akin to what this is going for, where it's like super
surreal,
creative and weird, and like it feels like it could take place in a world that is more fanciful than our own world.
Absolutely. And both movies take place in another dimension.
Or whimsical, I guess I should say, since we're going to try and use that fucking word throughout.
No,
whimsy!
Some things, like some shows and TV shows you watch, like they take place in like pretty realistic, modern, real world. But there's stuff about it that like it couldn't happen. So then you have to place that in an alternate dimension or an alternate universe, and
which is why whenever they start like referring to our reality in this movie, I'm like, get that shit out of here. You don't need it. Like, I don't need to have Robin Williams being like, look, it's Michael Jackson before and after or whatever, which was kind of like a spicy joke.
Kind of a spicy joke, even for
then it was probably like, oh, Robin, calm down.
Yeah.
But like that kind of shit, I'm like, I don't want this toy maker who's clearly insane and never leaves his property to even know who Michael Jackson is. Like, he shouldn't have that in his brain.
They don't have TVs here. They don't have security cameras, but they do have MTV. Well,
apparently they have MTV.
But it's brand. The MTV's only been out for 3 years at this point, so it's a brand new concept.
What was that band that had the plastic like Lego heads?
Devo.
Is that what they were doing?
No, they were doing Talking Heads and Devo mixed together. I'll get to that. So at this dinner, they start talking about, or I don't know if it's at this dinner, but basically Leland Zevo gets the idea that, wait a second, we could be militarizing these toys.
Well, he says we should make military toys. Like, he hasn't had the idea to
militarize the military. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's like, we need to make tanks and fighter. And then Robin Williams is pouring wine all over himself for some fucking reason.
Because it's hilarious.
Like, I couldn't figure. I was like, it's funny for some reason, but why is he doing it? Like, I don't know. He's like it's like the setup for like, sorry, I have a drinking problem kind of joke, but he's like not. It's just like every time he takes a sip, he pours like more on his body than in his mouth.
He's pretending to like know a lot about wine too. He's like, it's got a great head, and then fucking...
Yeah, he's like, it's a great Bordeaux. Yeah.
I wrote he gets out and runs into the grass for some reason, which I don't.
Yeah,
That's LL Cool J does that. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
He's like, I'm getting out here,
LL
Dad. And he's
Cool
like,
J,
why? And he's
count
like,
out.
He does
like,
that
Is
again.
this his first movie?
What are you yelling?
Sorry.
He does
When
that
you yell
again
too
later,
loud,
I
your
think.
mic literally cuts out
Yeah.
to the point that we can't hear you.
And also, you're talking over one of us when you do that. So, just like now would be a good time to talk when there's silence.
But you're talking right now. How can I talk if you're talking?
No, but like, you've been doing this for 2 years. You should know how a conversation
Mic
on a
etiquette,
podcast
man.
works.
Yeah.
I do, but if I don't see, the thing is, I put my hand up. You guys get at me for that. When I
What are
try
you
and
gonna
jump
say?
in because
Listen,
there's no
if
other
you're-
breaks to fucking jump into, because there's three
Okay, but
of
if
us.
somebody's saying something about going in the grass and then you start yelling while they're talking about going to the grass, that's not a good time to yell, because then you start to try and yell over us, and then all it does is cut your mic out, and then no one can hear what you're saying. It doesn't show up anywhere.
Touche.
So, what do you want to say about LL Cool J running out of the grass?
No, I'm pretty sure you guys were.
No, you asked. I did hear what he said on that one. No, I don't think this is his first movie.
Oh, is this his first movie?
But
Yeah.
it was very close to the beginning.
I think he'd been doing weird stuff for a few years before this.
This
Yeah.
seems weird to me for him to do this, because isn't he supposed to be like a smooth player pimp?
In the
no,
80s.
he was always weird. Like, all of his music videos are always so weird and shit too.
And like
What
cinematic.
kind of weird?
Like surrealist, weird music videos. I just remember his music videos being like, he's in like a chain factory and like there's fire underneath him or something. You know? Like,
That was
it's
every-
crazy.
Sexual.
That was
Sounds
every
super sexual.
That was every pop and dance music video for like a decade, from like 1985 to like 1995. Look, go watch
He was
it.
in-
Go watch
yeah,
a
he was in a couple of
Technotronic
things
music
before
video.
this.
That
He was
scene,
in a few things before this.
that scene in Stay Tuned where they're in the dance video. That's what every fucking dance music video looked like from this era.
This
Variations
movie's
of
even
that.
kind of like shot like at points. It feels like a music video. Like the whole movie feels like a music video at times.
I can
Did
see
the
that.
director ever make a music video?
Possibly.
Probably a lot of directors.
He made Rain Man though,
starred
so I
in
don't know.
music videos.
I don't know why he's slumming it with fucking.
Rain Man's a dope movie.
Well, there's some directors like actually super enjoy making music videos, like well-known directors that, you know, get paid millions and millions of dollars to make a movie will go just make a music video because they want to.
Yeah,
'Cause
or
they like
music video directors will suddenly turn into making movies, like Liam Lynch, or that guy that directs. What the fuck is his name? Spike Jones started with music videos. What?
I don't know. That just sounded funny.
Why?
The name Spike or Jones or the two
No,
together.
no. The trying to remember a name, saying what the fuck is his name, and then the name is Spike Jones.
Oh, it's the Spike Jones joint.
He was trying to
Yeah,
remember which
exactly.
Spike. He was like, which Spike? There's only two
My brain kept saying Spike Lee.
on
and
planet Earth.
he went the other way. I think he's done music videos, but he primarily makes movies about inner city youth overcoming the odds.
Are you talking about Spike Lee?
Spike Lee. I'm talking about Spike Lee now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Joan and Robin, Leslie and Altisha talk about why Robin wasn't left in charge as he puts her to bed in the giant swan.
You said their names backwards, by the way.
I didn't do that on purpose. I just said the two names of the actors, and then I said the two names of the characters separate from one another.
I know, but I liked it.
So, thank you. So the next day, I think we kind of move into the second act now, because the next day the place is fully militarized. You have to like sign in. They're patting people down. There's cages up everywhere. The music is fucking super weird. The Happy Worker song is now a weird like psychotic remix. Like it's not
it's,
that
like,
psychotic.
frightening.
It's
Clap. No, hap.
happy workers. It's so
Yeah.
weird.
It's like they took the same song and then just flipped it into hell.
just made it
Yeah.
like the first song was already a little bit too like, ooh, this feels weird.
Right?
But then when you hear this new version, it's like almost a little bit too. It's like it's what I imagine the people at Amazon have to listen to all day, but only that one song.
And they also have to be scanned like 10 times as they walk in.
And they also have to poop in a plastic bag.
Jason, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you duping?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, damn it. I thought that was going to help lead into the
duplicating. That's the joke.
We're not at duping yet. We're not at duping.
Are you
yet.
interfering with my duplication investigation?
Yeah.
We're not there yet, Kalen. Hold on a second. So this is the point where I learned that the music is happening on the floor because we see them leaving and coming back as the military guys are going around.
But in the first part, the workers are singing the song with the music.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
But that could have been in their mind. Like in you know what I mean?
I mean, the whole movie could be inside.
The whole movie is inside Leslie's mind while his evil uncle takes over his father's company and he thinks all these things.
I think we just cracked it. With that joke. That's
podcast over.
Yeah.
So Leslie comes in with the body of Soundcoat to a meeting, and this is the preliminary meeting to determine what the new toys are. And then he calls Leland calls Leslie a buffoon, and then Leslie says it could be a buffalo that's also a balloon, and blah blah blah. He says a few things, and then I was wondering
the origin of the word. Yeah.
I was wondering if that is the actual etymology. I wonder if all these things are like the etymology of buffoon. I didn't look it up, and I don't care.
I wanted
much.
to. Yeah.
You know.
I thought he said entomology, and I was like, but isn't that the study of insects?
The etymology. And okay, Kalen. Now LL Cool J goes in and meets
Robin
Jenny. Jenny.
Or the queen of
what, it was
Ascara or whatever.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's mom.
Nice.
She's
Grand Woman.
I think that she's really good in this movie, and they don't make her seem like such a. Well, she's also got donkey brains.
Yeah, she's
like
really
Leslie.
good at. She's really good at playing a fucking idiot.
She kind of reminds me of Charlize.
Everybody in the movies a fucking.
They all have donkey brains. That's what I kept saying. She reminds me of Charlize Theron in Arrested Development, who is actually
She's Mr. F.
She's mentally handicapped. Like, actually, this character I don't think is. She just has a lot of whimsy. She's very like, I like to have a good time. I like to wear weird clothes. It's 1992. Let's be weirdos. But she talks like this with a real deep Southern accent. She's a Southern belle. She's believes in the women's right. I think that Robin Williams
would have come off as a problematic employer relationship had she not been so like.
Yeah,
you're funny.
We kind of find out throughout this movie that she was hired specifically to date Leslie because they both have donkey brains in the same way.
Yikes.
That's true, right? There's a conversation later in the movie where it's like, your dad was real nice, and he's like, you knew my dad's like, yeah, he hired me, and I think now I know why. I think that's heavily implied that she was hired.
So he hired him with the hopes that they would meet each other and fall in love. That's different than him hiring her and being like, here, date my son.
That's true. I think that Kenneth Zivo also had donkey brains, so.
Yeah, that's why he didn't realize that his very competent son couldn't run his company, so he gave it to a military general for some reason.
Who also has donkey brains.
Yeah, he's like, I can't get rid of this British accent. Cheerio,
mate. This is where they make the Michael Jackson joke around this point.
Yeah, because they're scanning each other's faces or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Each other's faces.
They dupe each other's faces.
Do you duplicate alone?
Is this also a reference to the movie? I feel like you wrote this whole scene down. We didn't really absorb it as well as you, Caleb.
All right, I guess I'm just going to swing and miss all night.
No, not at all. Kaylin, I want to know about this scene because if you did get more of it, I have a lot of questions about... So when they first go in there, I thought that the duplication room was somehow with magic where they take the toy that's been made and they put it in a machine and it duplicates so they can sell it. Because there's no way that the way they're doing it on that factory floor makes any money. There's no way.
Right, all the legs are coming out now. Stick them into the left leg hole, and now everybody put it in the right leg hole.
That shit.
Maybe
like...
these toys cost $1 billion. Yeah. Like they're so expensive. It's like $100 for one of those shitty dolls.
You can only buy them from the store from Home Alone 2, where all the toys are like $1,000.
Yeah, and the guys there being like, "Hey, welcome to my store," with a giant chest of money behind him. Yeah. All this money's going to the poor.
Donald Trump shows up.
No, Jason, to answer your question, I interpret it literally as a photocopier. It's like you have the blueprints or instructions or whatever on a piece of paper, dimensions, whatever, blah blah blah, and you make the copies for production or whatever and shit like that.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That's what it was.
I think that's what it was.
She's like the copier person.
Just copies.
She's just working in the photocopy room. Yeah.
So it's like that joke from SNL where Rob Schneider's like making copies. Because I guess in The Office there had to be somebody that was their interns probably did a lot of that. And I guess she was kind of an intern. What I can't get over is why there were 1,000 different colors of paper.
Because it looks
different
cool.
Types of fucking. That's an easy answer.
Well, give it.
I just said it without the specifics.
No, you didn't. You said because there's 1,000 different. That's an easy answer. You didn't actually say anything.
Different types of like things. Like, this indicates this. Let's say for example, left legs are purple, right legs are blue.
But why do you
need
so many copies?
Green? What?
I don't know. My answer is that brightly colored stacks of paper in a room where your job is to photocopy shit is a way cooler and more interesting way to have a dynamic looking set than to just have her be in a shitty copier room.
That's fair. Especially with this whole
awesome trade-off.
This whole factory is super colorful. There's not really, it's all weird. I guess that makes sense. Sorry.
What,
except for the vomit room
doesn't make sense?
The vomit room makes sense for them to have it be completely white because they want to have the colors of the vomit pop up on a very neutral surface so you can see all the little details and stuff better.
But I don't know why it closes like anyway, we'll get to that. We're almost there. We get the cafeteria scene. Leslie, and I think her name's Gwen.
The food keeps touching.
What?
Sorry, I was thinking about the cafeteria.
Yeah, they sit down and goof off together. This is when I noticed that Robin Williams is just fucking riffing. Like he's just like he has no script for this part, and she's laughing genuinely because he's Robin Williams. Also, Robin Williams looks so different than in this movie than he does in other movies. That he kind of looks like 1980s Ozzy Osbourne without the eyeliner.
Is it because of the blonde hair?
Because of the blonde hair and just his face. He's got a very British face. They make little jokes, very cute. There's the bit with the fart machine is very funny. Was very funny to me. Very endearing, I guess. They talk for a long time. There's a moment where Letitia looks over and you think that she's going to be jealous, but she's actually like, I think that's this exact scene, the scene that you have behind you, right?
Love it. I love her.
She makes that face, and then she's like, I'm glad they met. They finally met. Which means she's probably been working there for like 2 years, even though it seems like maybe a couple months. But since Leslie's such a fucking donkey brain dummy when it comes to social skills.
Yeah, but this is also the part that Kaylin was talking about where Patrick is like, I hate this. I can't eat my food. I don't like when my food touches each other. I'm a military man. I need a military plate. Which is very funny.
So funny, man.
It's like, oh, my food is invading.
It's like, I don't want my mashed potatoes to invade my meatloaf. I want them to be quarantined.
Don't let your food touch either. He tells her.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
So the next thing we see is Leland in the arcade. He built this amazing arcade. I've only seen an arcade close to this in Las Vegas. There's this Circus Casino in Las Vegas that has a basement that's like just sprawling arcade. It's like
the VR headsets, man. Like, what was this, 92? What was this, 92?
Well, we haven't gotten to the VR headset bit yet. I think that's like next. But the actual arcade cabinets they're showing are like Turtles in Time. Fucking like
this is when the general goes to the town or whatever. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, I thought this was in the factory.
I'm thinking of Robin Williams, the woozy.
Yeah, that's the next scene. I'm talking about the scene where he's in the arcade. So this isn't in the factory. I interpreted this as he built this.
No, he goes because they go to town to look at the toys, and then they're like, let's go to check out the military video games over here, and then they go to like just an arcade that's in like in that wherever town
okay.
They don't ever show
They
the
don't
town.
show the
I think
town,
that's why it's
yeah.
kind of confusing, is because like it's through dialogue that he's like, let's go to town to see toys, and then they're in an arcade. So I always thought it was just like, because Leland wouldn't have those fucking machine gun toys and stuff in his factory, right?
That's true. Okay, thank you for clearing that up. But
And
then
he starts only shooting UN trucks. It just shows that he's like insane. Yeah.
But then it immediately goes back to Altisha in a VR headset thing with like a thing in her nose. We find out it's supposed to go in her ear, but it's basically she's like Whitewater Rapid. She's, I think.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Very early primitive VR, early VR at this time. I did play in probably 1994. I played Doom 3D in it, like this VR headset that was like literally this big. You guys, Steve, you guys had Palladium here, so you probably got to try out VR real early too.
Yeah, I did. Hang gliding.
This machine cost $25 to put on for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I remember my dad being like, "You're not doing that. It's too much money." And I was like, "Come on, Dad." And then I went in and I did it. And my dad was like, "Was it good?" I was like, "That was amazing."
Yeah.
Really, I was like, "That was shit."
But then,
terrible.
Comparatively,
I didn't want to disappoint my dad.
But, oh, I see. See, the Doom, the Duke Nukem 3D was actually pretty good in my memory. Maybe not by today's standards, but I do remember Sony put out on the PlayStation 3. It wasn't a VR headset, but it was like a personal device, and it was just like putting screens this close to your face, like putting glasses on and it's screens, which is cool in concept. And you can use
for cell phones.
Yeah, well, the evolution is they made like the cell phone version, and I've got a PlayStation VR, which has really good, like, it's good VR for its time 5-10 years ago. PlayStation VR 2 is announced, and they've been showing first looks, and it's gonna be the shit. The smaller the VR headsets get, and the less strain they are on your head, the better it's gonna be. Because Steve, you played PlayStation VR, and I think you've also played Oculus, and the Oculus is superior because it's a smaller device. It doesn't like push on your skull.
Yeah, I can't play the PlayStation for too long. I get too it's too tight on my head.
It's too
and
tight.
I get sweaty.
Play or run anyone?
Sorry, what?
That's what we're moving towards.
Yeah, but the devices are getting smaller and lighter, and
but that's what the world's gonna be. We're all gonna be virtual.
Thank God, because it's gonna be the water wars outside, and I'm too old to fight any wars. I'm gonna fight the fucking hentai
Imagine
wars.
I became a 5-star General Waters of the Water Wars.
Yeah.
That'd be so confusing.
You guys remember Bender's apartment?
I mean, kinda. So
How
It
was
was
a
like
closet?
the size of a closet.
yeah,
But then his closet was the size of an apartment.
yeah, and that's where Fry lived, right?
Yeah.
That's a little.
And then he's
That's a little
like,
Matt
"You want to
Groening
live in a
humor.
closet? Ugh." Humans are so weird.
Humans are weird. Bite my shiny metal ass. Anyway, it's called the Woozy Helmet because it makes you woozy. They show
right
some
back.
G.I. Joe toys. Leslie rides by Gwen while she learns to bike, and he offers to teach her. She wants to take things slow because she wants him to be more serious.
He makes a naughty joke.
He makes a little joke. He's like, "I want to get laid with a puppet," and I thought that was weird, but he's kind of genuine about it, and she thought it was funny. So wasn't.
It still hit me from left field, though.
It was weird.
Like,
There's a couple little
yeah.
jokes in this movie that feel weird because of the time that they were written in. So the offer is set. Basically, if he confronts the general and says, "Hey," she basically says, like, "You should be running the company. Like, why aren't you?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." And he basically wants to have this girl as his girlfriend, so he just says, like, whatever she wants to hear is what it felt like to me. Like, yeah, sure, I'll go talk to him. We'll talk to him tomorrow. And that'll allow her to take off her training wheels, so to speak, off her bike, so they can shack up, I guess.
Ugh, I hate that puppet joke. It was so gross.
He wants to get laid. Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird, even for the time, like, I don't like that kind of humor.
Also, Robin Williams being horny is off-putting.
Can't think about that dude having sex. It's there's
I was okay with it in the birdcage because the whole movie was like oozing sexuality. So I was like, okay,
Well, he's
so
a gay man,
he's
too.
the least horny
Yeah.
guy in this movie. Everyone else is so horny.
To the
And it was
point
like,
that
fine.
late at the end of the movie, his last gag is he goes to shake Patrick's hand, and he pulls the hand off because it's one of those gag hands, and the hand is super hairy because Robin Williams is a super hairy guy.
Detail.
Yeah,
He's like
such
a
a
Wookiee man.
such a weird detail to like leave in.
There's a
He-
very
so
funny Simpsons joke where it's like Kent Brockman on the news is like, it's a very sunny day outside. We recommend that you do not go out without sunscreen or have a very hairy body, a level 9 body, also known as a Robin Williams level of hair cover. And it shows Robin Williams with his arms crossed and he's just like covered in hair.
So this is the point where General Zevo starts talking to Patrick about making toys into actual weapons. Is Small Soldiers a rehash of this movie? That one, those two do feel a little bit similar.
Small soldiers in this?
Yeah.
No, man, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nope.
What?
The Small Soldiers is literally
I don't
about
think any of these movies are really rehashing any they're completely
No,
different.
I'm not saying rehash. I feel
like
that's what I
a
feel.
well, I don't know about Nightmare Before Christmas, but Small Soldiers is
When the
literally
toys take over.
kind of.
But this movie is about a guy who just made a bunch of small weapons to fight people, and then they use their nice toys to defend themselves.
That's what
It's
Small
not
Soldiers
really...
is.
Maybe
No,
I
it's
missed
not.
it,
It's about a
but
toy company that accidentally put like the wrong chips in
Military chips in their toys.
There's
Anyway,
one scene.
not a
Okay,
rehash.
I don't know.
Fighting.
I don't think the movies even remotely feel the same. Like,
Okay.
I guess you could say
No,
like
no,
they
no,
both
it's
have
just the one
toys
scene,
in them,
the
and the
one
toys
scene.
fight.
If
What
you
are you
talk
trying
at the
to say?
same time, see, Kaylin, if somebody is talking, definitely don't talk. That's what we're trying to teach you.
But what if they don't know the full picture of what's being talked about?
But we're seeing everything. We're seeing all the information that's being given to us.
All right, Kalen, what do you want to say?
That I'm not comparing the whole movie to the other movie in whole.
Exactly.
It was one particular scene that reminded me of another scene from another movie.
Like my comparison
And I'm not
earlier.
saying anyone's boring from anyone else or anything. It was just when that scene
Okay.
played.
So the scene at the end when the toys are fighting each other reminded you of the other movie where the toys are fighting each other. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. That's
Okay,
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I agree.
Those two
with, I
things
agree
are
with
similar.
Kaylin.
Yes. Sure.
Well, but okay. I don't think that anybody borrowed from each other either. I just feel like a military company coming and taking over a toy company and wanting to make militarized toys is very similar in both films. The conceit is different.
Sure. Sure. Yes. But I mean, you can do the same with a lot of stuff, right? Like,
That's
I
true.
don't think that these movies.
But I'm not comparing a lot of stuff.
I don't think that Joe Dante saw toys and was like, "I got a fucking hot idea, folks." Like, I don't think that's what happened.
Maybe he did though.
Maybe he did though. Let's just. You know what else he did was use Gremlins. He just used Gremlins.
He just made
except instead of Gremlins, they're toys.
He looks at the cover of the movie Toys.
Yeah, he was in Blockbusters and he was drunk and he knocked into the video game section and the NES title fell on the ground. He's like, wait a minute.
The SNES Toys movie video game falls on the ground and that's where it comes from. I like that.
Yeah. And then he played that video game. He didn't even watch the movie.
Yeah.
He just played the Toys video game and made Small Soldier script that weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Yes, that I believe.
That
happened,
you
yes.
believe happened. So then we get a call back to the earlier part of the movie where Leland was talking about how the modern cost of war has gone way up since the Vietnam War and the way wars are fought are different. And he comes up with the great idea to literally make kids play video games that are controlling the armament that he builds into the toys. And
He forgot that he read Ender's Game.
Well, it's crazy though. It's crazy though because drones are essentially that. Like modern day drones are like a person who's fresh out of high school potentially sitting in a room that's driving this like drone around the fucking Middle East desert blowing shit up.
Yeah, the movie is like a little ahead of its time on that front for sure. But
because in 1992, it's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. They're fighting a war in the Gulf. The Gulf
also,
War.
this
They
was
probably
like
already had it.
Operation Desert Storm. They're using
This was around
tactical
the-
helicopters.
the era of like people being terrified of video game violence and stuff. And I mean, that's still prevalent till today. But
That was another
it's
thing I
just-
wanted to bring up in this review is the fear of video game violence and it being tied into this like ultra militaristic dude. Clearly that fear was written
But
into
like,
this movie.
wild, right? Like this movie came out in 1992. Mortal Kombat came out in what, like 93?
93, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I even remember as a kid, like when I would go to my friends' houses and they had Mortal Kombat, I was like shocked because my mom was like one of those moms that would watch the news and just believe every single fucking thing on the news, being like, "Don't let your kids watch The Simpsons. Don't let your kids play Mortal Kombat." And it's like you look at the first Mortal Kombat game now, and you're like, "Oh, this is just like little spurts of red pooling on the
Not
ground
even
and disappearing."
On a Super Nintendo, there was no blood.
No,
No,
I know,
there's a
but on the
cheat
Sega
code-
there was.
cheat code you could put in.
Yeah, you could put them in, but if you just bought the game sight unseen, it was just
On Super Nintendo,
and white
it was just,
white came
yeah,
out
it
of
was
them
sweat.
because it was sweat
Because they were coming all over the place from getting punched.
coming out of their pores. So we get the next scene is Leslie back at the factory trying to convince the general. Well, sort of half convincing. He was trying to tell him about the rich history of the toys that came out of this factory. And then they go through that hallway where it's like the hills, the weird hills. And that scene has stuck with me. This lived in my head rent free. And as Leslie and him are debating, military toys versus traditional toys, they stop. And this dude comes out with a duck crossing sign. And then toy ducks just like cross. That whole shit has just lived with me.
Twice.
It's
Actually,
a thing
maybe 3 times.
that
Toys.
would be kind of weirdly pleasant if you worked in like a weird place like that, where like you'd have to stop for a minute and just like chill.
Yeah.
But also, if you're in a hurry, you stress the fuck out and stop those ducks to death. I'm in a hurry.
And then we get that weird like I feel like this should have been a musical montage almost, but Robin Williams is chasing Leland around the factory and having doors slammed in his face that say restricted, and he opens the door and says, "I just need a little bit more space," and slams the door in his face. And we don't really get the next scene is the scene in the
Like a weird dream-like sequence.
Exactly. And then the next scene, they're in the weird fake puke. Which
is the best scene in the movie, I think.
They're wearing hazmat suits, like with the face cut out, like the hazmat suits from like Breaking Bad, where like it's the full body and then just
it's
the
so
face.
that none of your hair or whatever gets into the
Exactly.
puke. It'll give you the wrong impression of what the puke
It's
looks
like when it's like the same level of detail of like when you're building a computer in a factory. You have
it
to
has
dress
the
like
single
that.
funniest line, and it's also just the concept and conceit of that entire scene is very funny to me.
What's
which
the
is
funniest
like-
line?
That is the vomit of a white man.
Oh.
There's like one like Asian scientist, and he's like, why don't any of these piles of vomit represent me? I mean, I would like to see some East Asian influenced vomits, and I think that would make me feel better and represented. This here is the vomit.
And he's
of a
like, yeah,
white
well,
man.
we'll put some noodles in it, and that'd make me feel a little bit more.
They start coming up with like riffing names.
We'll put
for
Kung
it
Pao
and stuff.
chicken in it.
Yeah, we'll call it like Fu Man Spew. Like,
I wrote down that line too. This is obviously the vomit of a white man.
It's so funny, and then obviously, like in the world we live in today, it would be even more like appropriate to the era. But like again, forward thinking, man.
So yeah, after that happens, slowly in the background, the walls like kind of Tetris. They come out like Tetris pieces, and the room starts to get smaller. And I thought that this set piece is one of the best set pieces in the movie too, because of how like weirdly claustrophobic it is. And as it comes in, it's not like they're going to get crushed. They just climb up onto the table, and then suddenly
they're
in
aware
this,
that
like,
it's happening, and they're like they mention it just to let us know that they know it's happening, but they're still continuously doing their job. Like they're so enthralled by what they're talking about, which is like, this puke is better than this, but now this is a classic, this is beauty, and then they like start to climb up, and it gets, so they're all on their hands and knees. And the door opens and Patrick is like, sorry, we need more space.
We need more room.
They're still all like shoulder to shoulder talking about this barf. Like it's such a...
The puke feels like that's their bleeding edge technology of toys. Like that's what really sells. That's what people want. That's what
they're losing money on that department. They're trying to cut from the budget. The puke budget is through the roof. They're trying to. What they're doing is they're reevaluating a classic and they're trying to figure out how they can make it more cost-effective.
Okay.
Which again speaks to the leadership capability of fucking Leslie, who they don't believe in for some reason. But he's like, come on, we don't have room for a carrot in the budget. Come on, a carrot right here would be beautiful.
So then we get the kind of montage of like the walls getting smashed in and closing, and kids are arriving to the place, and then I think that's when Leslie looks out the window and sees the kids arriving, but that might happen a little bit later.
Owens
sees it.
Yeah, he's like, they're arriving more and more every day, and he like points down to a school bus with a bunch of kids with like backpacks on going into the other building. And then later in the movie, the general's like, no, those are full-grown people. You're high up, and when you look down, and they all think about when you're on a 40th floor of a building, everybody looks like ants. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You're on the third floor. They look like smaller human adults. Yeah. Kaylin, you haven't said anything in a while. You look like you're zoned completely out. Are you all right, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Did you get too high?
No, I was just kind of thinking about interrupting.
Oh my god!
Not interrupting.
See, this is. I'm going to give you a little piece of advice, Kalen, my man. Don't smoke weed and try to podcast. It's never. You're going to get two in your head, and then you're going to miss.
No, but the thing is, it's not that though. You guys go back and forth, and there's no way for me to add unless I interrupt one of you. And so,
okay, but interrupt. There's a different. You have to figure out like when interrupting is appropriate. Like we're not saying never interrupt us. If you have something important to say, it's fine. But if I'm still talking and I'm getting through a point, and you keep trying to yell over top of what I'm saying, I will eventually stop when I hear you're trying to say something and let you speak.
Okay, what's gonna happen. That's a good point, Steve. See, that it just happened right there. Steve was sort of ending his sentence, and I made a little bit of noise, and then he stopped talking, and then I started to talk. So right there, as I was saying the word talk, you would know the sentence was ending, right?
And am I supposed to know you don't have another sentence after that sentence?
Because because when we have conversations in real life,
that's what this is. It's a conversation. Imagine you were yelling over everybody when you were trying to talk about something, and you just were like, "Oh wait, let me," and then like I'm like still trying to get my thought out. Just let me get my thought out, and then you can say what you need to say.
Exactly.
We're not saying don't interrupt ever. That's not what we're saying.
So we're all on the same page.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you were good, man, because you didn't say anything for a while, and you kind of went on.
You didn't say anything about the puke scene. The best scene in the movie.
The best scene in the movie.
Because yeah.
Do you have anything to add about the puke scene, Kaylin?
It was a crossword, not Tetris.
See, that's
true.
That's valuable. That's a valuable thing to add. And I apologize, man. We're not trying to give you a hard time. We're just trying to. You know how to do this.
I'm not trying to make this episode some little sitting on a couch thing.
What does that mean?
Therapy?
Oh, I wasn't trying to do that either. I was just trying to let you know that,
you.
Bro, you're seen. I see you. I want you to contribute. Me and you started this thing.
If I do this,
I can
see
even more now.
Into Joan Cusack.
So okay, Alticia's at the dad's tomb. So there was this dumb joke at the beginning where they're burying him. He's got the barrel of laughs, and Leslie's like, it's like, ha ha ha, it just laughs. Like, that's the toy, that's what it does.
Oh, in the coffin.
In the coffin.
A terrifying toy.
They bury him, it's making the sound. Leslie's like, the batteries will burn out in a couple hours.
Long lasting.
Call back now, where they go to, you can still hear that fucking toy, and Leslie shows up, and he's like, wow, the batteries on that thing are really, really great. It's called a funny mouth or whatever. Says they're going to be in the shithouse if things don't change. Then we go to Leslie and Glenn having a date where she reveals that they met before he Kenneth passed, as he hired her, and that's where I thought it was a little weird. I think that he was hired for Leslie, but I guess you guys made a good point earlier that was like, and actually Altisha made this point too. It's like, oh, they finally met. So they could have never met. They could have never hooked up or whatever. But
yeah, she could have been working there for years.
For years.
I don't know. There could be a line in the movie that says exactly how long she's been working there, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with a dad owning a company and then a woman comes in and he sees something in her that is like a kinship to his son and is like, I'm going to hire you because you're qualified, but also I hope you meet my son and you guys hit it off. Like that's kind of like I think what any parent would be hopeful for. Exactly. Like he wasn't pushing them together. He was just like giving them the opportunities. It's like if your mom is like, my friend from work has a daughter who's interested and here's a picture of her and she's attractive and she's interested in the same things as you, and then you go on a date with that person. It's like it's not weird, I don't think.
That's true. It's
no, that has never happened to me, I will say.
No, my mom has never.
I would probably be weirded out by it.
My mom's never tried to set me up with somebody she worked with, but I see how it happens. You know, like if you're chronically single and your mom knows somebody, she may try to hook you up with them, but it may be a swing and a miss. I could see. There is the extreme other side of that.
It's not even like he was trying. It was like he just kind of opened up the door and was like, maybe something will happen, but I'm not going to interfere. Which is, I think, fine.
What's her name, though? Robin Wright?
Robin Wright.
Robin Wright in this movie was like, she was stunning. You know?
Yeah, she had really nice hair.
She had nice hair. She looked like her makeup was really well done. Her style was really cool. She was really like endearing. I like the southern accent was really like a really neat thing. And she was like perfect for Leslie because they were both donkey-brained goofballs. And it was a really nice thing to see them interact with each other. Those are some of my favorite parts of this movie. In fact, I do like their courtship. I think it's cute. I don't like cute things that much, you know. But this stuck with me.
Except when he had that little devil doll.
That little devil was like, what's that?
Who said that?
Who said that?
Was it me?
Rapey.
Throws it in the field.
So right as I think they're about to kiss, or they're having their moment, fucking bulldozer busts through the wall, and then he's like, I'm gonna tell Leland that I don't like this. So Leland still won't let Leslie go through the restricted area. Leslie manages to get the security card through this scuffle, and then they come up with the plan to just put the label MTV on one of the security cameras and then just do a full MTV music video. Now, here's the thing. The beginning of this, I thought was really smart to like just distract the security guards and then push a mirror up the hallway. They could have just pushed a mirror up the hallway and just got as far as
but the joke would be, it's not a joke at that point. It's like an espionage mission. They wanted to have a weird thing happen.
They want to do a weird talking
They don't think like you and I. They think like insane people. So they're like, we're going to film a whole backdrop for a music video, rear project it onto the screen, and then perform for the people.
This is another moment
so
that
stupid.
It didn't stick with me, but it was a memory unlocked moment. Go ahead, Kalen.
Speaking of insane people, do you guys ever get do you guys not want people to know when you're taking a shit?
I would prefer they didn't know. Yeah,
I don't want people to know. I'm pretty secretive about. I don't like people watching me eat.
Okay,
same.
That's the next one.
So
I did enjoy the psych out in the bathroom. Is what I'll say to that.
Did it happen during this scene?
No, it's later.
Oh,
was it that much later? I thought it was around.
Yeah, it's close to the. It's like pretty far after this point. Yeah, it's like.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking. Yes.
Miss. Oh,
no, it's not a swing and a miss. It's literally like. It's literally like the next thing. It's not swing and a miss at all. Don't think about it like that.
It's a funny gag, though.
It is a funny gag. I made a note about it. But for this part, the music video is actually very, very cool. It reminds me of just psychedelic 80s music videos.
Yeah, it's like a Talking Heads video.
It's like Talking Heads. It's a little bit Devo. Like,
this is not my beautiful wife.
This is not my beautiful stapler. Yeah, that I like it. I like the part where in the background it's like him spinning and falling like rain, and it's just, and they do like a guitar solo. Also, the costume from the cover of the movie is the costume they're both wearing for this scene. The red, which is really feels good on your eyes. That red hat and
because everything
jacket
up to this point has been pastel and black and white, and they finally had like a solid ass primary color, and I was like, whoa, my eyes.
I don't care.
I'm pleased by this.
I don't care for pastels personally.
It freaks me out. It reminds me of faded passion. That's what pastel makes me think of. Like it was once bright and vibrant, and now it's just faded and weak and dying.
One of the security guards is Jamie Foxx, and one of the security guard that's in the spy truck. Sorry, one of the guards here though is the landlord from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and also from something else you guys had pointed out in the chat earlier.
So later on in the truck, not Jamie Foxx, the other guy is the superintendent of Jerry Seinfeld.
Right.
The guy's like, yeah, Jerry, I'll get right on it for you. And then later he's like, oh, maybe I'll get around to it one day once I help everybody else in this building who cares about each other.
Yeah. Is that the door holding episode or getting the mail?
It's the one where they all take pictures.
Right.
Takes pictures of everybody and puts them all in the lobby or whatever.
Yeah.
So they all know each other's names.
The guy who's right in front of the MTV screen, he's Mac and Dennis's landlord in It's Always Sunny. And I don't know if you guys remember the episode where they have Thanksgiving, and there's a GIF that's made from
What's it called? It's Always Sunny?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Is this a new show? I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, it's brand new.
Are you being sarcastic?
Extremely. But I don't know.
I don't understand the definition of the word sarcasm.
Okay.
Explain it to me.
Oozing sarcasm.
Is that sarcastic?
And
Have
Kaylin,
you ever known me to be a sarcastic person?
Kaylin actually doesn't understand sarcasm, so this is going to be a little bit of a back and forth, I think. The scene is them sitting around the table, and Gail the snail shows up, and she's giving everybody hand jobs under the table throughout this episode.
But you're talking about the movie again, and I was like, I don't remember a person named Gail the snail.
But the gift that they gift out of this episode is him just like staring off into the distance, going, she's just mashing it. Which I always thought.
What are you talking? Are you making something up right now?
I'm talking about an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that this actor is from.
Oh.
I didn't want to interrupt because you guys let me do my Simpsons bit earlier, so I was like, I can't interrupt. They didn't interrupt me.
I didn't interrupt you.
Nice. This is like the rest of the page. The plan works again to the new area. He finds the kids playing the video games. This is where we get some more bad CGI, but it had a weird like.
It wasn't too bad though, actually.
Yeah, it had like an interesting 3D effect to it, where like he was going past it, and the CGI itself looked kind of bad, but in the universe, it looked like interesting. It looked like a video game, which it was. At first I was like, has he already implemented this plan are they killing people right now? But then you see a giant trainee on their hat and shirt, and you're like, oh, they're just playing games. Security immediately, like the MTV sign just falls off the security camera, and
that's how they figure it out. Oh.
Yeah, well, there is a scene where he's like, but the security guard goes, what are you watching? MTV. He's like, yeah, it's MTV. It's spliced in or whatever. And he's like, spliced in? The cable's on this side. There's cable right here. And he's like, it's spliced in. He's like, oh, okay, let's watch this MTV music video.
They're entranced by it. Yeah. They
because
love
it's trippy as fuck.
They're like, I love this. This is so good. Like both of them just love it so much.
So Leslie runs out of there after the alarm starts going off, and it's like a dog barking weirdly. And he falls into a vat, and there's some sort of sea monster down there, and it kind of reminds me of the movie Popeye, which we might have to do for this show. Kaylin, did we do Popeye before Steve joined? That might be a good movie for
Robin Williams?
Yeah, it's weird, and it's a Hey Did You See This One movie for sure.
I've never been.
Oh, you've never seen Popeye? Oh my god. Okay. Stay tuned.
Imagine Robin Williams, but doing his Popeye impression the entire movie.
Yeah.
That's basically
shiver me timber, blow me down.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. Anyway, somehow he survives and he ends up at Gwen's. He tells her what's going on. There's a spy toy that's watching them. Then we get this really weird scene where like she takes her bra off and throws it because they're gonna bang, and
that seemed naughty to me. Seemed inappropriate.
When I was a kid, even I was like this.
The sex scene in a movie that you think from a distance is a kid's movie.
But you just see the back of it. You don't really see anything. But the fact that it's happening, you hear noises.
Kids movie. Question mark.
It's a parental guidance movie, you know.
Imagine you were watching a Disney animated movie and then all of a sudden a bra got slingshotted across the room. You'd be like, "What the fuck?"
And then it falls onto the toy like soldier thing, like robot.
Is that hentai?
Kind of. And the soldier keeps walking while the guy's in the outside. There's a security van that has like a big key, like a wind-up key that you would see on the back of the toy. Yeah. It's on the top. Can't miss it. Obviously there for nefarious business. She throws the bra on top of it. It's walking, and it walks, and it pulls the bra back. The bra gets caught on some things. Slingshots out a window. These two are so enthralled. They're so the beast with two backs that they don't notice the window smashing. And then it's the next day, sort of. The guys in the van are perving out pretty hard. Jamie Foxx is one of them, and the other one is the Seinfeld guy. Landlord.
Yep. That movie was there. That scene was odd. They were like this. One of those like other like like the movie is obviously full of like illogical moments, but like imagine being so engrossed with the act of fucking that you didn't hear a window break.
Exactly.
In the same room as you.
And then we get the scene that Kaylin was talking about with the pooping, where you see legs coming down at a stall, and then LL Cool J comes out of a stall, and I just have to ask, how is he pooping in his stall?
He wasn't pooping. He was disguising.
He was just crouching.
Maybe he was like standing on the water tank and holding the walls and shitting into it that way.
I like the idea that he was like in the fetal position.
Or he was holding onto the door. The little coat holder on the door. He was holding onto that.
His feet were up on the toilet, and he was just crouching over it.
Great aim.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, Kaylin, you said he wasn't pooping, and then why the fuck was he in there? Like, why was he in there? I just assumed that every time But, I mean...
He was just surveilling a public bathroom?
But, like, the funny thing... I guess the funny thing for your mind to do is, like, to think about all the weird ways he would have to poop without his feet being showing.
You guys thought about him pooping? Gross.
Well, I mean, he's in a bathroom, and like up until the part that you saw his feet come down, you thought he was pooping too, because his feet were there and his pants were down.
That's an inappropriate question right now.
Do you know what's? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Who? Which one of us? I think we were both just.
Kaylin.
I don't think anyone was cutting.
No, he said that's an inappropriate question for you to ask me.
Oh. What's especially weird though is after all of that. The alarms go off, the MTV thing, the fucking Leslie falling into a vat and seemingly dying, and the spy shit and the sex scene. The next day, they're all just sitting around in the boardroom again, or in like the office of General Zevo, and they're just like sitting around trying to figure out what the next move is. And I was like,
but the general's also there.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
He's like, you tried to kill me, and he's like, no, it was just a test. Yeah. And then he's like, Patrick was telling you to shut it down and you wouldn't. He's like, no, it was just, don't worry about it. You're like, holy fuck, this guy is insane and nobody's gonna stop him.
So
it's very cartoony. Like, it's so cartoony.
The next bit is also cartoony. Basically, the general meets up with Washington, and they're flexing their technology muscles in our world, and they're just showing off this weird like Outland style CGI where it's just them basically
like some Total Recall skeletons talking to each other.
And the scene, and there's a gag where a guy has like a forceps inside of his chest. They ask him, hey man, how was your surgery? He's like, I got a bit of chest pain. But essentially, the only thing that really happens in this scene is he pitches the idea for military toys to Washington, and Washington is essentially like, that's, I'm gonna have to take that back to Washington because that's a little bit out there. He starts strangling the like military dude that came to talk to him. And then
it's like the scissor thing is like so ridiculously pointless. It has no business being there. It's sort of funny and gives Jamie Foxx a couple more lines, I guess. But like, why is it there? Was it just to be like, you're seeing their skeletons, guys? Everyone watching, look, it's them. And Jamie Foxx is like, are those scissors inside his chest? Like, he doesn't see anything else except for the scissors. Their hats on their skeletons, which is pretty funny as well.
So
also, why are they in their underwear? They had to take off all their.
I think just for safety, for safety, so they couldn't be concealing anything. Because the whole thing was the VR was to see through the clothes, and see right to their skeletons. So if they their little like their hats had like metal around the top, and like the little logo on the top was metal, so you couldn't see if they had guns or whatever. I assume there's other ways to do that for sure. But anyway, this movie is not based in any reality that I live in. Essentially what happens next though is the scene that I've always think about. This one is lives in my head the most, and after his defeat with Washington or whatever, General Zevo is in his office wasted and there's a fly in the room. And when I watch there's an episode of Breaking Bad that's kind of a bottle episode about Walt trying to kill a fly, but I think it's like manifesting, it's to show the manifestation of other problems in his life.
That's literally the only episode of Breaking Bad I've ever seen.
It's a very popular episode. It's very well
trying to
written.
kill the fly.
Yeah. It's a very good episode. I just recently watched it like last week because I'm rewatching Breaking Bad. It's the fucking best show ever made. But this scene,
I don't know. Some reboot fans would have some words with you about that.
Reboot. He first shoots like a door. And then a guy comes, he's like, is everything okay? He's like, there's a fly in here. And he's like, a fly? And he shoots at his guy. And then he shoots the lamp.
The dog from all Toy Story movies, the Slinky Dog guy.
Oh, it was that guy?
That's that voice actor, yeah. He's in lots of live action, but yeah, it's him.
Oh, yeah, fuck.
He talks like this. Are you sure you don't want me to get this fly swatter, sir?
Oh, yes. The guy that... Yeah, I thought it was Brian Doyle Murray, but it's the guy who kind of looks like John Goodman, who's in a shitload of stuff, and I forgot he played the Slinky in Toy Story.
He's in a lot of Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah. Anyway, he ends up... The fly goes onto his toe, and he shoots himself in the toe, and that has stuck with me since the very first time I ever saw this movie, because it's so messed up.
I guess that's just to show how crazy he is. If the rest of the movie didn't already, send up any red flags about this man being a psychopath, he shot himself in the foot trying to kill a fly.
So, oh man, it's already 11. We still have like a whole bunch left. Here we go. I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. Let me get through this. Let me get through these last couple.
I mean, we can skip through the whole fucking fight because it's stupid and nothing.
That's true. Right? That it is, but there are a couple things I want to touch on here. So basically, there was
LL Cool J reveals himself for the last time.
Patrick is dating the nurse played by what's her face,
Daxie Drax or whatever her name is.
Debbie Mazar.
There we go.
But earlier in the movie, we see her go off with Leland because she's the nurse for the grandfather. She accidentally calls Patrick Leland, so he gets mad at her. Turns out that was an accident. But through this, we learn that
he's been boning his son's fiance. Yes.
No, but through this, what we learn is earlier in the movie, Leland keeps talking about how Patrick's mom died from appendicitis. But through this part, we learn that she was sent on like a recon mission and like never made it out. And Patrick harbors a bit of deceit. Well,
that's when he does his turncoat, right? He's like, my dad has lost his fucking marbles, and he probably did a long time ago.
Yeah, he gets pissed and goes back to the factory. All the end games are revealed by Leland, basically. Like ultimately, he has all of his war bots in front of him. They're super menacing. They never get used, though. Weirdly, he just uses his dumb toys. If he would have just tried to overthrow.
If he would have just used his warbots immediately, he would have won. He would have won the toy wars.
So all the donkey-brained people unite to take down the donkey-brained general.
You know what? We never talked about the old man general and how he, like, when he brings himself up, he immediately turns a light on that just goes on to his 4 stars on his lapels or whatever. He's like, well, we always turn those lights on every time I'm here just to show you that you're a 4-star general and I'm only a 3-star general.
Well, exactly. I was just going to say that exactly that. There was just a little line that was...
But it's so funny. Like, it also shows why he's so fucking crazy.
Also, the first time that he...
Crazy legacy.
At the beginning when Leland, right before that scene, Leland walks into the room and mentions Kenneth, his other son, and he goes, ugh, toys! Yeah. So, like... even though Kenneth is arguably more successful overall, money-wise, he's a military man. So the screen...
Oh, sorry, just to get back to those, they're not called lapels. What are they called? The things on your shoulders.
I don't know what they're called, but I know what you mean.
It starts with a P, I think. Anyway, he's got the 4 stars, and the general Zevo? I always want to say Zemo, has 3, but then the next time you see him, he's replaced all of his stars with the little elephant. With the elephants, he puts 4 of them on there because he's a fucking prick.
Because he's a psycho and
he's commanding himself.
He's got daddy issues. Yeah. So the plot is set. He's going to take over. He's going to kill all of the donkey brain people with his military toys. Turns into a video game maze on his screen. He sees them all as little player dudes, and they're planning on storming the control room essentially. So they immediately get lost in a labyrinth that Zevo has created.
Ollie and Ball just killed each other. Just so stupid.
All these toys come out and try to kill them a bunch. There's that weird, Kaylin, you mentioned that the beach ball that is bad CGI and then a great practical effect. That's the weird thing about this ending sequence. Just take the CGI out and do it practical, and it looks great.
Yeah, you could have hucked a beach ball down that hallway a couple times if it would have worked out properly for you. Or put it on a stick and just roto key out the stick.
Exactly. And then around this time is when we start getting really bad slow-mo. Moments. The 2 dolls come in for Patrick, and he gets out of the way by jumping up to a beam, and it all goes in that weird 80s TV slow-mo, and it looks so
What it is they did not film it at a high enough frame rate, so they filmed it normally, and then in editing they realized they didn't achieve what they wanted to do, so they put it into slow-mo afterwards, and because there's not enough frames, it's really choppy feeling.
Okay.
And this whole end scene is full of that shit because they probably had a very clear vision of what they wanted, and they filmed it, and they got in the editing room, and they're like, "This isn't working. We need to slow moments down." And
they wanted the super suspenseful slow mo, but it just looks like cheap primetime TV slow mo, the shit you would see on the A-Team, or the fucking $1 Million Man, $1 Billion Man, whatever. So anyway, this whole scene ends up with the team inside a room that has all the old toys. And Leslie says, we're going to fight fire with marshmallows, in that he's going to use all the old toys as sort of decoys. So they can... It doesn't really accomplish anything, and that's part of why this scene is dumb. Because I keep expecting it to be meant so the military toys run out of ammo, but... It doesn't. The 2 military toys get destroyed.
They say there's a weird throwaway line where they say they track based on motion or something. And I was just like,
but they don't try to escape the room after they figure that out. And also, that's incorrect. He's watching the toys and the people on the screen, and he's.
But it doesn't seem like he has control of them. He's they've sent them out to go seek and destroy, and he's just watching it from his monitors. He's not actually controlling them.
Okay.
Anyway, throwaway line to try and make logic, which a movie that has no logic does not matter. You can just don't even care.
We're essentially skipping over 30 minutes of the movie.
It's so much. Why is it so much?
I don't know.
Why is it so long?
Because they wanted to just destroy all these toys.
Remember when I told you I had to turn the movie off because I was too tired and I had to watch the rest today? I started essentially at when the fights started, and then it was the whole rest of the movie was just that. I was like, what am I watching? What the fuck happened? The movie was pretty good, and now I hate it. What's going on?
So essentially, the end of the movie takes place in the Manhattan thing from the beginning, the Manhattan like mini city from the beginning. I was hoping, I had forgotten the ending, so I was hoping there was going to be some sort of like Crank 2 miniaturized kaiju battle with the big robots
Godzilla,
destroying the fucking city, and like
they
Robin
probably
Williams
wanted to do that, and they're like, "Oh, we spent all $50 million of our budget on this CGI bouncing ball."
So meanwhile, Patrick is out. He gets shot or something by one of the toys. He's down. Robin Williams goes
also
in.
now again in a different camouflage outfit, to camouflage in a snow terrain, which is very good.
Robin Williams goes in to try to save him. He can't. He realizes he has to get to the control room. He can see the control room. He climbs up. He gets in a plane, like a toy plane that's like above the city. He uses it to go about 3/4 of the way. A helicopter comes and somehow cuts the wire, but he doesn't cut it completely, and he falls. Well, it cuts one wire, it falls upside down. He makes it, crashes into the control room, and then General Zemo like loses his mind and jumps on. They have what I thought would be the final showdown on top of the plane, where they're fist fighting, and it falls. But then they just still have another fight. But the weird the water swine or whatever, that weird like toy that's just like they didn't spend enough time building.
Pig
They
thing.
didn't spend enough time explaining this thing.
I'm developing a new water toy.
It just shoots missiles. Missiles. So anyway,
it also can like sustain its own power or whatever. Like beep.
Yeah, it turns
when
on its own
turning
button.
on.
So it ends up taking out Leland. The day is saved, and that's pretty much it. It shoots Altisha, and that's when we learn that she's a robot. It ends with the Christmas shit from the beginning. Leland doesn't end up dying. He's just in a bed next to his grandfather, and they have a constant, like toy soldier conveyor belt that's just going in front of them, seemingly keeping him satiated. Gwen can ride
lust for battle is quenched.
Gwen ends up being able to ride a bike. Everything goes back to normal. They go and see their dad at his tomb, and Leslie takes over, and that's the end of the movie.
And then Joan Cusack gets out of the car and she says, "Oh, so this is Paris." And then Patrick says, "What?" It's the best part.
And she's like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't walk." And he's like, "You know what? You should walk."
She says, "Can you carry me?" And he goes, "No, you should walk, I think."
Yeah.
I think it's better if you walk.
Yeah. So that was the movie Toys. I haven't done a deep dive on this movie ever, and I've seen it so many times yet. I've never seen the ending, and I think now I know why. Let's take it home. Kaylin, why don't you hit us with your final thoughts on the movie Toys?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. One of my final thoughts is that red is a hard color to match. Another one of my final thoughts is actually sparked by something you said, Stephen. I think closer to the beginning. They are the toys. And I made a comment about like the house being a box, and then it had like that little fold out thing or whatever and shit. And then she's got like that little paper dress thing or whatever. And then I was like, oh, we are all, you know what I mean? Like what we're imposing on the toys we play with is kind of like an extension of like what's in us or whatever, right? And so I give this a no.
So many kerchiefs.
No.
He planned a bit.
No.
He planned a bit for so long that he just wanted to get to the bit.
Out of I wish I could find the answer quicker.
Clandestine.
That was my favorite.
So mysterious.
That was my favorite rating ever on this show. Thank you for that, Caleb. That was incredible. I like how I feel like you were like focused for like the last like 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, I gotta nail the bit.
He was focused because he was trying to grab all the kerchiefs in his room with his feet, like bring him closer to him. He's like, damn it, I have a good idea, but I can't get up. It'll be too obvious.
All right, Steve, hit me with your final thoughts, keeping in mind that I would like this show to end in 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
An hour and a half? Oh, 2 hours.
Break.
Yeah. I'm just kidding, but I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I've said it a few times through the movie. I think there's a large swash of this movie that is quite good and enjoyable and interesting and funny, but there are little polyps within that are boring and dumb and confusing and don't make any sense. The beginning is not very interesting. As much as I wanted it to be, it was just off-putting and strange, and like not in a good way, in like a very confusing way where I'm like, I should already know who this movie is meant for at this point, and it's like almost 10-15 minutes in and I still have no clue. There's almost like no fun at the beginning of the movie, and then the end, I think they planned out this like extravagant battle and they filmed so much and they realized like, oh, this is rough, we don't know what we're gonna do. Let's just throw everything in, and even have like these weird scenes where like a bear gets blown up and it's like making horrifying bear crying noises and another bear is waddling over to it, and you're like, I kind of feel sad. Like, well, this is weird that I feel more sad for these two bears that I've never seen before than I do for any of the other characters in this movie throughout. I think the most interesting character in the movie was LL Cool J as Patrick. He had the clearest sort of character going in, and he had the most change throughout, and he had a kind of a satisfying conclusion at the end. Whereas, you know, the person you're supposed to be kind of rooting for the entire time, Robin Williams' character, Leslie, I really didn't give a shit about, and I could have cared less if he got together with Robin Wright. None of it felt comfortable. I didn't ever kind of settle down in with those two characters. I've said this before in a few other reviews. Scenes happening in a specific order that have a sort of through line of a story doesn't make a satisfying story, and that's kind of how I felt about this movie overall. It wasn't satisfying. It had some interesting ideas. It had some interesting themes. The thesis is sort of like, never let your childhood be defeated by the dark horrors of reality. And if they clash together, you know, you do have to sometimes let go of your childhood in order to embrace reality. But reality doesn't have to be as scary and terrifying as the world would make you think. And like, that's kind of a nice idea. But at the end of the day, the movie is like a little bit too blunt with those themes and doesn't really let you enjoy that majesty or whimsy, as we say, that it's kind of proposing at the beginning of it. Set design, great. The music is so fucking weird, and like at some points it scares my brain when I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is too aggressive. I don't like it. But, you know, like interesting to say the least. At the end of the day, I enjoyed this movie, but I didn't like it. I don't know if I'm going to recommend it or not. I feel like if you want some chunks of something fun mixed in with a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter and is really not smart or interesting, then you'll probably like bits and pieces of this movie. I will give this movie an elephant that's designed to have bubbles coming out of its nose, but the bubbles never come out.
Okay.
They never come out, ever.
Okay. That's pretty good. You guys both kind of hit the nails on all the heads of what I want to say about this, you know, like it was surprisingly good for being a movie from 1992. I was entertained by it, you know, genuinely funny, like at times. Robin Williams turned what could have easily been a complete stinker into something elevated. Like if you just put whoever in the Leslie role, it could have been that much worse. Nick Cage could have elevated it too, I think. And I'm not saying
Carrey.
Jim Carrey would have been perfect for this movie too. In fact, while I was watching, Johnny Depp would have been great too. But while I was watching this, I was like, man, Robin Williams would have been the perfect Riddler in this with as this character just doing riddles.
Didn't they offer him it?
I think there was something where
he always wanted to. He wanted to do it, and then something happened where he couldn't do it, and then Jim Carrey did it.
I feel like this is a cult classic, but I don't think it has cult classic. It's a cult classic for me.
It's a cult classic.
A cult of one.
Yeah, that's all it takes sometimes. Its shortcomings are mainly that final battle with the just robots, just CGI not CGI, sorry, like toys.
There's some CGI
fighting
in there when the tanks are doing the dance.
Yeah,
those are CGI.
There was that weird scene where they suddenly just do a synchronized swim thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, its shortcomings are mostly from the CGI and the weird, I do kind of get where they were coming from with the weird interstitial moments. It almost felt like you could turn this into a TV show. You know, you could expand this.
Canceled after 4 episodes, probably.
Yeah. But it would only be 6 episodes long because it's 2022 and that's how long shows are now.
Listen, the British have been doing it that way for generations.
They had it right, I think, for some things that they do. But just do 3 episodes like Sherlock. 49-hour episodes.
Yeah, they're movies. They're basically movies.
But the shortcomings are the antiquated, slow motion, the bad CGI at times. The obvious CGI really bugs me, even though it's early in CGI and probably blew people's minds at the time.
References to Michael Jackson for some reason.
Overall, my experience with this movie this time was enjoyable. I do have the big nostalgia for this one, but I also genuinely thought I was going to hate it. I thought I was going to be ugh. Just get to the parts that I remember. And I think that I don't like a 2-hour runtime, but a 2-hour runtime for this movie is almost necessary because there's so much world building that you have to kind of jam in there.
They could have done 145 and cut out a ton of that end
That's
fight.
true. I agree with you on that. And if I had come out of that with an hour and 41 minutes, I might be a little bit more favorable. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret, and I don't normally do this. I changed my review from reviewing it with you guys. I wrote 4 to 5 down when I got out of the movie. Yep, 4 to 5.
Jesus Christ, that's really high.
However, I'm gonna take
even higher.
I'm gonna take it down to a 3.6, and I know that's still pretty high, but the design of this movie is something that people should see. I think if you like set design and you like practical effects and you like weird Tim Burton-esque like things that are created, I think this is a necessary watch. And I know that's high, and it's mostly fueled by nostalgia, and this is coming from a guy who literally just had to admit to you guys that I almost gave it a 4 because I like to be honest. I can't give it a 4 after the things that going over it in meticulous detail like we did. Can't give this movie a 4, but I'm going to rate it highly because I think I expected to hate it, and it was a fun watch, and I think it's got a good movie in there. You just got to kind of wade through the shit. Yeah, so that's we did it, guys. We got through another episode of Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, you seen it?
I think all we have left to do is ham fist our way through trying to say each other's names. So for Kaylin and for Steven, I'm Jason.
For Steven and Jason, I'm Colin.
For Jason and for Kaylin, I am Steven.
And I always have to ask one Wednesday night question. Sometimes it's Tuesday and sometimes it's Thursday. Sometimes it's Friday, but hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, you see this one?
Oh, I was expecting more scarves. Where's the scarves? Where they all go?
Is the outro playing? Is this the
we're talking over the outro now.
This is we're in the outro part. So yeah, toys. Can't live with them.
I have
live without them.
I have some right now.
Toys?
Dildies?
Adult toys or regular toys for children?
What's an adult toy? Is it only sexual?
Like
or...
anal beads.